To be in the house of the Lord. Genesis chapter number 3, verses 8 and 9 will be our passage that we will use for our teaching today. Genesis chapter number 3, verses 8 and 9. I'll be reading out of the New International Version of God's Holy Word. You can read along or follow along. It doesn't matter. Verse 8 says, "Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden." Verse 9 says, "But the Lord God called to the man, 'Where are you?'" I want to repeat that. The Lord God called to the man. And he asked the question, "Where are you?" Family, I want to use for our time together as a subject to this message today in the form of a question. And that question simply is, where are you? As you take your seats, just ask the person next to you, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Family, we have talked many times before about the importance of order. We've talked about the law of first mention. We've talked about first things and first fruits and first statements, and all of those matter. They are highly important and worth paying attention to. This should also cause us to pay attention, particularly to the very first question that God ever asked. This initial and primary question is recorded in the text that we read in verse 9 of chapter number 3 of Genesis, where the Lord called to the man and asked, "Where are you?" May I remind you that God is an omniscient God. In other words, he's an all-knowing God. He knows the end from the beginning. He knows the future from our present. By the time we get to the future, it is God's past because he knows everything. The question was not asked of Adam because Adam was the greatest of all time, undisputed champion of the hide and seek contest. He was not able to find some God-proof hiding place where even God himself could not find him. The question was not asked and posed because God needed to gain information that he didn't already have. But the question was asked to force Adam to come to grips with the information that Adam needed. He had gone to walking openly and transparently and shamelessly to now hiding from God's presence. And the question forced him to evaluate his new condition and his new position. God asked Adam this question to force him to come face to face with Adam. God knew where Adam was. The question was, did Adam know where he was? What I have found out, brothers and sisters, is that sometimes we can be oblivious to our own condition. We can be unaware of our own responsibilities. We can be oblivious to our own dysfunction and our own lack and our own fallen condition. We can not know and not be aware of our location. And they don't call them blind spots for nothing. All of us have blind spots. That is why this is the question as we knock on the door to this new year. Has God been asking us, where are you? It is a question that we should continually be asking ourselves, and we must know that this question that God continues to ask is he's asking us to force us to recognize and address and embrace our location and position as it relates to him. Now, I'm fully aware that many, like Adam, will choose to hide. But like Adam, we will soon discover that God knows exactly where we are. Ask the person next to you, are you hiding? Yeah, God's goal, his aim, his desire is that we know where we are. Unfortunately, the sad commentary is that many would rather hide where they are and find themselves year after year in the same position that they were previous years, wondering, why have I not progressed? Why have I not gotten any better than I am right now? Not realizing there is a danger in hiding. Preach to somebody on the onset of this message and tell them there is a danger in hiding. Yeah, hiding from ourselves and our problems, whether consciously or unconsciously, can have significant negative consequences. What consequences, Pastor? I am so glad you asked. The consequences are dangers that we are not aware of, unresolved issues and emotional buildup, meaning it creates a compound effect in our lives. When you avoid personal issues and refuse to acknowledge them, it does not make them disappear. Yeah, avoidance is not deliverance. Just because you are avoiding it doesn't mean, and you won't address it, doesn't mean that you are delivered from it. Instead, often what it does is lead to buildup of unresolved emotions and problems that over time become more complex and harder to address. Not to mention the emotional toil that continually hiding from our personal issues can have on our lives. And this might manifest in extraordinary amounts of stress. I have never seen so many Christians who are always stressed out, always full of anxiety, always worried, always going through. At some point in your life, you should not be going through. You should be standing on top. Yeah. Anxiety and depression and our overall mental health and well-being. But what I have found out is that when you bury your problems instead of addressing them, that they will grow roots and come back stronger. When you avoid facing what you need to face, it does not fade away. It just festers. And year after year, you will go through the same thing over and over again. But watch it. When we choose hiding, we also fall into the danger of number 2, losing our authentic self and relationship with God. Yeah. The people that God has sent to bless you and to get you to the place that he wants you to be, when you hide instead of addressing your issues, what end up happening is you end up destroying the relationships that are going to take you to the purpose that God has for your life. I know I'm talking the truth this morning. We will fail to confront our personal issues and the aspects of ourselves that we find uncomfortable, and we erode our authenticity. And listen to me, this only affects us and how we present ourselves to other people, leading to relationships that are not based on who we really are, but what we want people to believe that we are. The full truth of who we are is not revealed. But can I tell you, in this next season of your life, you don't have time for Dr. and Mr. Hyde relationships. You don't have time for smoke and mirrors. I don't need you to send your representative. I don't have time to figure out which one of you is the real you. I don't need you to act like one way in front of this person and act like somebody else in front of this person. I'm looking for authentic people who will be who they are, that I don't have to figure out who you are. Because when you wear a mask, you rob the world of your true self. This is why so many people have strained relationships, because we're not presenting our true selves. We're super spiritual in front of one person, and when you out to dinner, you are Debbie Downer, and we got to talk you off a ledge because you getting ready to jump. Your friends and family, your colleagues, they sense you're not being entirely open and honest. And then it erodes the trust and hinders the development of the deep, meaningful relationships that God has placed in your life. Because when you are playing hide and seek with your true self, it leads to a game of lost and never found in your relationships. That people will never know who they are dealing with. Which leads to the third danger is missed opportunities of growth and healing. In other words, you end up stagnant instead of growing. Because growth often requires confronting difficult truths that we don't really want to confront. It requires looking in the mirror and saying the truth about ourselves that we don't want to confront. When I avoid these truths, I miss out on the important opportunities and personal development and growth that God has intended for my life. It is in the soil of confrontation that the seeds of growth are planted. That God will allow me to get better than I was before. That I don't have to live the same way I was in 22 and 21 and 20 and 19, but I can get better going forward into the new year. Let me tell you, facing and addressing our issues head on can be challenging. I'm a witness, but it often is the first step to healing and restoration and resolution to problems that we have gone on for years in our lives. But by hiding, somebody say hiding. When we hide, we deny ourselves the chance for healing and positive change. Dodging the mirror of truth may save you a moment's discomfort, but it will rob you of a lifetime of growth. You'll never get to be who God wants you to be. Adam, where are you? When you understand the weight of this question, you understand the depth of this question, you see that it was an invitation for Adam to come to face with his inventory of who he was. It was an opportunity for self-awareness, an opportunity for accountability. It reveals to us that this question was not just a question, but this question was a multifaceted question. That it meant several different things when he asked them, where are you? Ask your neighbor, where are you? Yeah. This is what God gave me. He said, let them think about it, ponder it. Where are you? Where are you? Multifaceted question because now, number one, it was a question of presence. Somebody say presence. Yeah, a question of presence. God's question wasn't about only about their physical location, but it was about a deeper spiritual state. Being present in our relationship with God and others in our own lives. When God asked Adam, where are you? He was pinpointing more than his physical location. But he was probing into their spiritual location. And I know I'm fully well aware that we have made spiritual maturity a calendar issue. And we begin to believe the false narrative that how long I've been saved determines how spiritually mature I am. Yeah, because I have been saved for 20 years and 30 years, then I'm supposed to be spiritually mature. And as the calendar turns, without any intentionality, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to grow. I don't have to be any better. I don't care how long you have been a part of the church. It does not mean that you are spiritually mature. When answering this question, it demands that we assess our current spiritual standing. Where are you? Where are you spiritually? Do you pray more than you prayed before? Do you study God's word more than you studied before? Are the things that tripped you up last year are still tripping you up this year? Because they're going to trip you up next year until you answer the question, where are you? Are we walking closer to God? Do I have a lifestyle of worship, or do I just sit in his presence and not even aware that he's in the room? Do I know where I am? Am I walking closely with God, or are we hiding ourselves amongst these of distraction and fear and all the things that are going on in the world? Worldly concern, is that more important than my spiritual status with God? Where am I? Am I in a place of obedience and faith and intimacy with God, or have I strayed away? Going through the motions, going to work every day, but I'm hiding. Coming to church every day. I know Christianese, but I'm hiding. Yeah, I'm by myself and nobody sees me. I'm hiding. Yeah. I act like I got it and I know how to jerk and I know how to pick it up and put it down when the music starts. But am I hiding? Do I have the Spirit of God working on the inside of me, or am I hiding? God is not playing hide and seek with us. He wants us to be found in his presence. And he's asking the question, where are you? Because listen, you can't hide from God, but you can hide with God. When you get in his presence, you can hide with him. And no matter what comes, hell or high water, God will protect you. Are you hiding in his presence? Because when I'm in his presence, that's where I find my true identity. When I'm in his presence, that's where I find my purpose. When I'm in his presence, it's not just about showing up, but it's about being fully engaged in God. When God deep calls unto deep, when God speaks to me, my spirit jumps. My spirit comes at attention when I'm in his presence. This means that I actively, somebody say actively. I'm actively seeking God's presence in prayer and worship and obedience. It's not just about me having a relationship with God where I pray when it's convenient, but it's not an afterthought, but it's a forethought. I'm doing it intentionally, where I'm not just checking in with God like he's a guest, but I'm sitting in his presence like I'm at home. Yeah, my feet up when I'm at home. I get comfortable when I'm at home. When I'm in God's presence, I sit like I'm at home. But watch this. Where are you is also a question of direction. Somebody say direction. Direction. In other words, am I moving closer to God, or am I moving farther away from God? Yeah. Because some people that have been saved for a long time, it seems like they just coming to know Christ. They don't know what to do. They don't know when to praise. They don't know when to lift their hands. They don't know when to pray. It's like they have no spirit. Am I moving closer to God, or am I drifting away from God? Are my plans and my actions and my goals saying that I am moving in the direction that God wants me to move in? Because if you don't know where you're going, then you might not like where you end up. Yeah, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know the direction where you're going, nobody just falls automatically, but gradually over time, it ends up happening. And God is asking, where are you? He's asking, where are you going? Do you have a clear vision for where you're going? One that aligns with God's vision, and one that will help to navigate the complexities of your life, help you stay on course. God's question, where are you, helps you to look ahead. That it's not just about right now, here, right now, but it's looking ahead. Help us to envision where he's trying to lead us. Because many times God is trying to lead us, but because we're so connected to the world, because we're so connected to comfortability, God can't lead us the direction that he wants to take us because we insist on going the other way. Having a God-given vision is essential in determining our direction. Seeing beyond my current situation and understand, where does God want me to be? What am I supposed to be doing? Why did he put his spirit in me? Why did he save me and deliver me? He didn't just do it and heal me. He didn't just do it just because you asked, heal me, deliver me, save me, but he has a purpose. Vision is not just about personal ambitions. It's about aligning ourselves with God's purpose. Spending time with him in prayer and the word, asking him to reveal his plan, to open our spiritual eyes, to give us the ability to see beyond our immediate circumstances. It's not about just growing your faith, but it's about growing in divine foresight. God, what are you speaking to me? What are you saying to me? If your vision only includes you, then your vision is too small. Because God's vision includes you in his big picture. And without a God-given vision, you're just sightseeing through life, going through the motions. Year after year, I'm doing the same thing. But once we have a vision, our behaviors and our actions must align with that vision. Because I can ask, how many is God the head of your life? And mostly everybody will raise their hand. But that's a perceived goal. Yeah, it only becomes an actual goal when my actions and my behaviors line up with what I have perceived. Yeah, I can say it, but until I do it, it's not really a goal. It's not really what my heart's desire is. I have to align my habits and decisions and priorities, and I got to change them so that they line up with what God is saying. They're embracing the new direction. If your faith isn't changing your behavior, it's time to change your spiritual diet. Less world and more word. Less world and more word. But not only is it a question of presence and a question of direction, but number three, it's a question of condition. Somebody say condition. Condition. Where are you emotionally? Where are you mentally, physically, financially? When God asks, where are you? Part of the question probes our emotional and mental state. Are we thriving, or are we sinking, or are we just surviving? We're going through the motions. Our emotional and mental wellness is critical because it dictates how we perceive not only God, but how we perceive ourselves. Because I cannot believe what God has said about me if I'm not in the right mental and emotional condition to receive it. This type of wellness doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentionality. Somebody say intentionality. It requires care and nurturing. And yes, it's vital to develop the disciplines of prayer and meditation. That goes without saying. But sometimes it's all right and okay to seek out professional help to work through the issues that you need to work through. You are not less saved. You don't have less faith because you go and talk to somebody who is a professional that has been trained to get you through the traumas that you have gone through, to get you through the things that have happen in your life. Sometimes you have got to take some time out to seek counsel, get some coaching, get somebody that can help you get from point A to point B. Yeah, you can look at me if you want with that spiritual look, but I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people, even in the church, that need some good therapy. They need to go and talk to somebody. They need to process all the things that they have gone through. Because then we won't have all of these fits of outbursts and these emotional meltdowns. And you think everybody is against you and everybody is coming for you. Everybody is not against you and coming for you. You haven't developed the degree of emotional intelligence that you need to process what you need to process. He said, where are you? As you get ready to cross into 2024, where are you? Where are you emotionally? Are you walking with bottled up anger and resentment on the inside of you? Yes, you've gotten prayer, but sometimes you need to talk about that. You need to talk about the relationship that you went through that had an effect on you, and now you see everybody in the light of the person that hurt you. You have to take time for rest and rejuvenation. Rest and rejuvenation to reflect on your emotional and mental condition. Are we growing stagnant and deteriorating? Where are you? We all need regular and routine spiritual and emotional checkups. Don't let your spiritual life run on autopilot. Sometimes you have to have a manual check. Where are you? Your emotional and mental health is not just your feelings, but it's the fuel that drives your life's engine. It's going to help you get to where God wants you to be. You don't have to struggle. Because not only your emotional and mental health, but he's saying, where are you physically? Where are you physically? Where are you financially? Our physical and financial conditions are under God's purview as well. He's looking and asking the question, where are you? I want to bless you to be a blessing, but I can't trust you because you don't have discipline. I know y'all didn't expect this morning. In other words, how we treat our bodies and how we manage our finances speak volumes about our priorities and our values. Can I say God is the head of my life? Because when your checkbook is opened up or your register and your report is opened up, who has the most entries? Are we stewarding our health? I cannot continue to go knowing that this is killing me. But I continue to consume it day after day, continue to consume it as much as I want. We have to answer these questions because honoring God with our lifestyle choices and spending choices is important. Please, please hear me today, church. Don't let your wealth and your health be the thief of your faithfulness. You have to steward both like God is watching you. Don't let God down because you won't steward your health and your finances. Treat your body like it's God's temple. Not that he's staying in a, what is the name of those things that people get? They go and stay in people's houses. Airbnb. Airbnb. Your body is the temple of God. So I have to treat it as such. He treats your finances like he's the owner and not just the manager. He's the owner. He tells me what to do. But then fourth and finally, this question, where are you, is a question of readiness. Somebody say readiness. Readiness. As we enter this new year, are we prepared for what God has in store for us? Are we prepared spiritually? Are we prepared mentally? Are we prepared emotionally for what God has in store for us, ready to receive God's blessings and also, watch me, his challenges? Because his blessings will not come without challenges. God's opportunities are for the ready, not the reluctant. When you are ready for God, and you live in a state of expectation, that is the breeding ground for God to provide miracles in your life. Spiritual readiness is about being prepared for whatever God brings our way, blessings or trials. I'm not going to get many shouts right here. It means I got faith strong enough to weather the storms, that I'm receptive no matter what happens. Yeah, well, there's going to be some challenges in 2024. I'll tell you about it tonight. There will be some challenges, but I'm receptive enough to embrace the challenges and embrace the blessings. Why? Because I'm grounded in prayer and worship and study of God's word. I know who's anchoring me. Readiness means I got to be flexible to God's plans, even when it does not line up to my plans, even when it's different from what I had planned to do and what I said I was going to do and where I said I was going to go and where I said I was going to work and where I said I was going to visit. Even when his plans are different, I got to be flexible, where I don't just stand at the door of opportunity, but I get dressed and walk right in it. And I'm going to wherever God says to go. I'm going to do whatever God says to do, because the blessings of God don't just go to the swift and to the strong, but it goes to those who are ready to run the race to the end. Those that will endure to the end, that's the ones he said I'm going to bless. He said, come hell or high water, if you ready to go, those are the ones I'm going to bless. Because I have the mental fortitude and I have the emotional strength to expect the blessed, but handle the worst. I have the mental fortitude and emotional strength to expect the best, but handle the worst. Testify to somebody and tell them, expect the best, but handle the worst. Be prepared to handle the worst. How can you say that, Pastor? Because I have the Spirit of God and a mindset that is resilient and adaptable and flexible. That no matter what comes, I'm grounded in the truth. So I can handle both the highs of the blessings and the lows of life's challenges. And I handle them how? With grace and faith, knowing that as long as God is with me, I can get through anything. Yeah, that's why I got to know that he's with me. That's why I got to stay connected to him, because I know he's with me. That's why I talk to him every day, so that I know he's with me. His readiness equips me to handle the blessing with humility and handle the challenges with courage. I'm not scared. I don't walk scared. I don't pray scared. I don't walk and sing scared, because I know who has my back. When your mind is anchored in God's truth and your heart is in tune to his rhythm, you can get through anything. Brothers and sisters, as we stand at the threshold of this new year, let us embrace this question that God asked Adam. Where are you? I want you to spend the rest of the day, the hours that we have before we cross over, pondering on this and thinking about it, and answer the question, where are you? With an open heart and receptive spirit. Because listen, there's two options. One option, I can honestly and transparently participate in my own self-examination. The Bible says it, and we usually quote this verse at the time of communion, but the Bible says, let a man examine himself. It's not for somebody else to examine. It's not a question for somebody else. Notice when God asked the question to Adam, he did not say, Adam, where are y'all? Eve, the verse was there. Adam and Eve was walking and heard God in the cool of the day. But God asked Adam, where are you? The question is not for somebody else. The question is for you. Yeah, the reason why God allowed you in this service, watching this live, is because God wants you to answer the question for you. Where are you? We can honestly and transparently participate in this self-examination. Opening the door to allow God and other people to point out the areas of our walk and our attitude and our character that needs to come out of hiding. It's time for us to own up to the areas that we need to grow in. That's option number one. Or option number two is we can hide ourselves behind the mask of distraction. We can hide ourselves behind the mask of excuses and give ourselves permission to ignore the question and refuse to participate in this discussion. letting ourselves off the hook, because if it wasn't for this person, and if it wasn't for my church, and if the music was right, if the singing was right, if I had more time, then I would be able to participate. We can hide. If I had more strength, if I had this, or if I had that, or if I didn't have to deal with this or didn't have to deal with that, we can hide from the question. Where are you? The question is examining the intimate relationship that you are supposed to have with God. It's a question of presence, a question of direction, a question of condition and readiness that you have to come to grips with and answer where I am. Stand with me all over this building. This message today was a self-examining message. That before we make goals, before we make all of our plans, and it's fine to do all of that, make our resolutions, God said, let me ask you a question. Where are you? Where are you? You're a preacher, but you don't pray like you should. You sing worship, but you don't worship when you're by yourself. Where are you? Where are you? How often do you study the word? I mean, we make time to scroll, and we make time to see who said what, and we can let everybody know who's doing what. But what have I said to you this week? Where's your devotion this week? What scripture has been impressed in your spirit? Where are you?